Hi everybody, my name's Chris Tasso. I'm a merchandising coordinator here at Right Stuf, and I'm telling you today because while it's a genre that's been on the back burner as of late, I will always have a soft spot in my heart for Mecha. People can be excited all they want about getting hit by a car and then popping up in another world, magic spells and epic destinies, but for me, give me a 60-foot giant robot any day. While it seems like a bit of a cookie-cutter concept, the mecha genre has been surprisingly versatile, crossing over with many other tropes and building a new storytelling space of its own. And being a devotee of mecha, I've been picked to give you a rundown of 10 of our favorites. Now please don't get upset here if your favorite isn't represented. I'm not trying to be definitive, and if you got something you like, we have a nice little comment section right down here. Let us know which mecha you stand for there. But enough small talk for now, let's get to the robots. Let's kick things off with the progenitor of the whole genre. In 1956, Mitsuteru Yokoyama created Tetsujin 28 Go, the first giant robot manga to find wide success. Young Shotaro Kaneda inherited Tetsujin, a remote control robot from his father. Tetsujin was originally built to help Japan fight the Allied forces during World War II, but since Japan surrendered before Tetsujin's completion, I guess the second best option was passing it on to a kid. Anyway, after receiving Tetsujin, Shotaro used it to take on a variety of evildoers, including Professor Shutane Franken, nefarious creator of the rival robot Black Ox. 7 years later, after the manga's release, it would be animated, then become one of the first anime showed in the United States as Gigantor. Names were changed, they kinda had to since Tetsujin directly translates to Iron Man and, you know, Tony Stark's got those good lawyers. But the quality was still there, helping to build America's first otaku. Manga legend Go Nagai grew up a fan of Tetsujin 28 Go and Astro Boy and wanted to do his own take on the mecha genre. When inspiration struck after he saw a traffic jam. His idea? A giant robot that could be controlled from inside. And thus Mazinger Z was born. Built from the mysterious Super Alloy Z, Koji Kabuto would fly his hovercraft into Mazinger's head and pilot it in battles against the sinister Dr. Hell and his mechanical beasts, weapons of an ancient empire. Mazinger Z would go on to establish many of the tropes that mecha anime still follow to this day. The 1972 anime would eventually arrive stateside 13 years later as Tranzor Z, once again shuffling names. But Mazinger would make an impact elsewhere as well. The city of Tarragona, Spain was going to add a suburb called Mas del Plata, and a Mazinger Z statue was built to welcome visitors. The suburb never arrived, but Mazinger still stands to this day, and if you go in through the secret door in the back of his leg, you can get a look at Koji's view from inside Mazinger's head. We're breaking out of the chronological run we had going by checking out this oddball of a series from 1999, but it's one of my personal favorites, The Big O. Produced by Sunrise in the wake of their animating of several episodes of Batman the Animated Series, The Big O borrows a lot of that setting to provide its own unique spin on the mecha genre. Roger Smith is our stand-in Bruce Wayne, serving as a negotiator in Paradigm City, a partially domed metropolis isolated by wastelands, the sea, and most importantly, a wave of amnesia that struck 40 years before. Roger works for hire, doing a variety of jobs from his courier service to hostage transfers. But when necessary, he summons his Megadeus, the Big O, to strike down other ancient mecha and other giant threats. The Big O's beam attacks and sledgehammer punches were devastating attacks that few enemies could withstand. This series also has a unique history, as while the first season struggled in Japan, its success on Cartoon Network's Toonami block led the American cable channel to co-produce a second season in 2003, bringing a sort of closure to the mysterious history and machinations that led to the creation of Paradigm City. Of all the Japanese series heavily adapted for American audiences before the 1990s, Voltron easily found the most success. Based originally off of the 1981 anime Beast King Go Lion, the adjusted plot revolved around 5 human pilots drawn to the planet Aris, which was beset upon by King Zarkon and his robeasts from Planet Doom. The pilots then discovered 5 gigantic robotic lions, which combined to create the mighty Voltron, defender of the universe. Voltron stole the hearts of many a kid in the 80s, between its iconic transformation sequence, and Aisle for the Head still gets me pumped up, and the awesome toys that combine to make a gigantic Voltron in your own home. the franchise is still a powerhouse to this day, thanks to Netflix and DreamWorks' recent adaptation, Voltron Legendary Defender, which ran for 8 seasons between 2016 and 2018. Up next on the list, we've got the AV-98 Ingram from Patlabor. We've already seen a lot of the massive, super powerful mecha so far, so we're going to bring it back down to earth. Originally launched in an anime form with an OVA in 1988, the Patlabor franchise focuses on a police squad in Tokyo in the far-flung year 1998. The construction world has been revamped with the help of piloted mecha called labors. Of course, labors could always easily be used for nefarious purposes, so that's when you send in the members of Tokyo's Special Vehicles Unit 2, or SV2 for short. With a selection of their own patrol labors, or Patlabors for short, they would do their best to neutralize any threats. The main workhorse of the squad would be the iconic AV-98 Ingram, whose everyday tasks and relatively diminutive size at about 8 meters brought the mecha genre to a much more relatable level. You didn't expect the Ingram to save the world from an invading force, but you could definitely count it to wrangle out-of-control labors that were still a major threat to a smaller area. The Ingram was definitely your friendly neighborhood giant robot. Alright, here's another convoluted origin story for you. In 1980, Takara Toys released the Diaclone line in Japan, featuring mecha and tiny pilots. In 1982, they introduced Diaclone figures that could change into modern-day vehicles like jets and trucks. And in 1984, American toy company Hasbro and Marvel Comics teamed up to adapt the Diaclone line and other shape-shifting toys into one shared universe. And with that, the Transformers were born. With the storyline spanning millions of years, the noble Autobots fled their dying homeworld of Cybertron to escape the tyranny of the sinister Decepticons. Optimus Prime led the Autobots, both on the battlefield and in toy sales, with a combination of battle prowess and integrity. He led his allies with a message of hope, acceptance, and coexistence, and his name became iconic both in America and in Japan, where he would keep his original Diaclone name of Convoy. Throughout the decades, Transformers has been adapted into numerous media, from anime and CGI to comics, video games, and blockbuster movies. But at the center of almost all of them stands that big red and blue semi-truck cab, standing by the credo that adorned his tech specs back in 1984. Freedom is the right of all sentient beings. It's not my best Peter Cullen voice, but I'm trying. From small places come incredible things. Simone and Kamina are 2 young diggers in the subterranean Giha village, but once they discover the head-shaped robot dubbed Lagann, their whole world changes. The ceiling of the city is shattered, they discover the Beastmen and their gunmen that enforce their isolation, and with Kamina's theft of a gunman he names Gurren, the 2 combine forces and robots and set forth on a path that will send the entire galaxy spinning. The series itself is so over the top, never missing an opportunity to just shock you with a just far enough to be crazy design. And Gurren Lagann is the perfect mecha to carry the series name, dripping with cool from its monstrous torso-based grin and gigantic pectoral sunglasses to its barrage of drill-based attacks. The series rarely breaks down from its constantly ratcheting intensity and scale, while never giving up on Simone and Kamina's dream to pierce the heavens. Shoji Kawamori is someone we can't go on without mentioning. He's one of the modern masters of mecha design. He made his name by building the Macross franchise. The Valkyrie Veritech is easily at the top of my honorable mentions list, so please don't hate me for that. But his touch goes much further than that. Transformers, Patlabor, Outlaw Star, Eureka 7, so many more series. Kawamori's impact is seen just about anywhere you've seen a giant robot in the past 40 years. With his series The Vision of Escaflowne, he wove mecha, fantasy, and isekai into one magical combination. Hitomi is a girl training for track when she gets whisked away to the land of Gaia after witnessing a boy fight a dragon. Hitomi and the boy, Van Fennel, join forces to keep the Zybok Empire from absorbing the peaceful neighboring lands. Van pilots the Gaimalef Escaflowne, an 8-meter-tall suit of magic armor with a flowing cape, a massive sword, and the ability to transform into a dragon. With his mental link to the Escaflowne, Van was an unstoppable force in combat, serving to prove Kawamori right. Giant robots and fantasy worlds are two great things that go together. Hideaki Anno rocked the anime world with Neon Genesis Evangelion in 1995. The tale he wove revolved around Shinji Ikari, a boy who moves to Tokyo 3 to reluctantly defend humanity from the onslaught of the angels, nearly invincible otherworldly beings. The tool he would use would be the Eva Unit 01, an enormous mecha. From the outset, Evangelion seemed like a standard mecha show, but one with a lot of style. The Eva 1's sleek, lanky build and unique purple paint job made it stand out from the giant robots of the day. However, the sheer brutality of its offensive output quickly set the tone for the series, and as it would go on, fans would learn that Unit 1 was no mere robot, and Evangelion was nothing like the simple mecha shows that came before it. The thick symbolism, psychological study, and multi-layered plot would go on to influence many anime afterwards, but with its arrival to streaming and modern movie series, Evangelion's impact is still being felt to this day. We're just a little bit biased around here, but you can't fault us for putting the OG mobile suit at the top of our list. Yoshiyuki Tomino's 1979 creation built an entire subgenre of mecha anime with Mobile Suit Gundam, Real Robot. Until that point, mecha anime focused on superpowered robots leading absolute good in a battle against absolute evil. Gundam added shades of gray and moments of vulnerability though. The titular mecha, Amuro Ray's RX-78-2 Gundam, was a gleaming top-of-the-line piece of machinery for sure, but it was at no means indestructible. The Gundam needed constant repairs and reconfiguring to stay on the battlefield, and was often overwhelmed by the forces that the Principality of Zeon could muster. But that tinkering led to a wide arsenal of tricks and armaments. Beam sabers, javelins, rifles, bazookas, a 10-ton shield, even a spiked ball and a chain. Gundam had a weapon for any occasion. And if things took a turn for the worse, the pilot could always eject the core fighter at the heart of the suit and fly away. The Gundam may be more fragile than some of the other mecha on this list, but its design just screams never say die. And that makes sense, seeing that what was originally a canceled toy commercial is now the launching point of a mecha franchise going strong for over 40 years. So in my opinion, you've gotta put Gundam at number 1 on our chart. All the series we talked about today have samplings for sale on our site, so if I've helped you fill the gap in your mecha knowledge or you just want to learn more, check it out yourself by going to our website, rightstuffanime.com. In the meantime, I gotta get back in the robot. Launching!